Welcome to No Lab Core Required. My name is Johnny Cole Dixon, and these are my favorite granola bars. You can judge me in the comments, but hear me out. I was a different kind of kid. I always wanted to stand out, and there was a gas station neighboring my elementary school. After school, everybody would run over with their pocket change and get the hot chips, the sizzling hot crunchy curls, smacking their lips with the red fingertips and a tongue to match. And then there was me, confidently walking into that gas station with $1 and proudly walking out with 4 chocolate-dipped chocolate chip Sunbelt granola bars. Life wasn't good. Life was perfect. Chewy and sweet, and it's granola. It's a granola bar, so it's like not as bad. You've eaten this, your kids have eaten this. This is a fascinating untold story of granola. We find the industry drenched in billions, but what's interesting is that they didn't have to really work for it. All they had to do was tell a little fib, and we all believed it. Wartime. Fed up with civil inequality and fueled by a bitter distaste for the United States participation in the Vietnam War, millions of young people in America wanted out. 1969, marketed as an event for peace and music, hosting massive acts including Jimi Hendrix, The Who, Jefferson Airplane, and more. Woodstock was the perfect timely escape. The Woodstock Festival expected about 50,000. Gross underestimation. An estimated 1 million people excitedly left their homes to trek to the festival. Enormous crowds converging on one location. The highways were clogged, even the performing artists were late to the event. The ticket booths were overran, not enough porta potties, not enough space to be comfortable. Immediately you may be concerned about violence erupting, but no, there was an even bigger problem at Woodstock. You see, a reported over 500,000 people were gathered to vibe out in an underprepared, multi-day logistical nightmare of a music festival on a farm in New York. What are we gonna feed these people? Someone had an idea. Volunteers went out to the city and bought massive amounts of rolled oats, wheat germ, almonds, dried berries, and apricots, and mixed them in garbage bags to serve in little Dixie cups. It was like a trail mix, a muesli, whatever it technically was. Woodstock gets the credit for putting granola on the map. Today, the granola industry is an unassuming multi-billion-dollar powerhouse. And yes, we're talking about granola, but of course I'm looking to convey an underlying message here. But the story of granola really is fascinating. There's a dark side to the come up, and it doesn't really get much attention. They only have to tell a little fib in order to become the staple that they are. Here's how carefully curated marketing, associative psychology, and big food tactics have the nation turning to not so healthy sugar and seed oil laden granola bars. Granola may have grown in popularity because of Woodstock 1969, but there was a pressing issue that birthed their creation over 100 years prior. I think we got a mistake here. It says granola bars were invented as a cure for gluttony. No, that's it. That's correct. Okay. American food culture was shaped by a handful of idealists, innovators, inventors, food engineers. Sometimes they were just business-savvy people that got their hands on the American food industry. Meet the man that shifted American food in a way that influenced the food you ate as a kid. James Caleb Jackson. He was of the studious kind, a physician. An unorthodox one. He doesn't receive much credit. You may have heard about Kellogg, Post, right? Those cereal makers, those two giants that butted heads over ideas and territory. Well, before all of that, there was James. He defined himself as unpopular, and I kinda get why. Look at what he was putting out in the 1800s. The philosophy of drunkenness and its cure, dancing, its evils and its benefits, Christ as a physician. But when it came to his impact he had on American food, we'd have to refer to this, the gluttony plague, how persons end themselves by eating. You were a glutton if you ate too much food, ate at improper times, or ate food which is unhealthy in itself. So what was considered unhealthy food back then? I'll tell you in his exact words. If there is any article of which food in various forms can be made that is unhealthy and directly productive of a large class of diseases, it is wheat ground and bolted of its bran. Bread, it was becoming more and more bastardized in the 1800s. Okay, we get that, but what is James blabbing about with this bran talk? Well, what we're talking about is essentially the difference between whole grain wheat bread and just white bread. Whole grain has the entire kernel of wheat. White bread refines the flour to a point of being void of everything but this endosperm. And this has ramifications we'll talk about more in a bit. But what he's saying is, if you wish to eat pastries, rich cakes, pudding, knickknacks in the shape of dessert, using superfine flour, it will assist you in making your bowels constant digestive, your tummy dyspeptic, your head ache, heart palpitate, your nerves neuralgic. This brother going in. He goes on to say, I don't care about how careful someone is with every other respect of their hygiene. It's impossible they should enjoy collective health if fine flour bread is a staple in their diet. But we're starting to get the picture. There's something seriously wrong with food products made of flour void of its brand. Now, James was seen as a bit of a quack because of his views, but more so because of his methods. But that did not stop him from building the largest hygienic institute in the world. He founded and operated his own sanatorium in New York, seeing over 20,000 patients. A place where not only sick folks went for refuge, but a place where anyone was welcomed for welfare and recreation. You can go and enjoy special water treatment baths, massage, gymnastics, something called a vacuum treatment. Drugs were secondary to nature. Fresh air, clean eating, it was health by right living. But here's what's important. The more he studied his patients, Jackson started to realize how vital the gut was. In fact, Jackson believed the gut was the center of all human illness. The gut, the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. And then there's the colon. Down to the rudder. The gut, it's what connects us to the food around us. I could rub this orange onto my skin, but I'd only look crazy. If I want what this orange has, I have to intake it, chew it, and swallow it. After swallowing, our body will engage in one of the most powerful things that it does, turning food into you. Our eyes, our fingernails, they're made of food. Our liver, our pancreas, they communicate messages to the body that hinge completely on what enters in. James kept running into this problem, one described as nutrition. Folks just wasn't eating right. And to nurse these people back to health, Jackson needed something simple, something unstimulating and unexciting is what he believed did the trick. Caleb Jackson developed his own food, twice baked and crumbled graham flour. It was, and maybe to this day is, the most fibrous food America has ever derived from a wheat plant. It was the opposite of refined flour bread. It was the opposite of what you see in your grocery store today. In fact, we don't really make or sell the kind of flour that Jackson used to make this food item. It was unsifted and coarsely ground flour. It was a challenge for the teeth. It was a rough chew. So what he would do is take these granules and he would soak them in milk overnight to soften them up. And of course, cereal, as we know it, was conceptualized by James Caleb Jackson. But he didn't call it that because he would take the bits out of the milk and he would call it granula because of the granules that were created. There's always a funny story about how a decent portion of the food we eat in America was made or found by accident. But granula was the complete opposite. It was intentionally intentional. It geniusly kept the bran of the wheat intact. Bran, the fibrous part of a wheat plant. It's what, when ingested, gets all the way down into the colon, allowing the passing of some other rubbish to come out the other end. Granula is the perfect food for constipation and indigestion. But wait, there's more, and this is more than James Caleb Jackson could have even began to realize in the 1800s. Modern day science has gotten us to a point of understanding we house a diverse community of little microorganisms called microbes that live symbiotically with us, impacting the way we feel and think. They impact our immune system and our hormones. 95% of these microbes are found in the gut, and majority of that 95 is found in the colon. Getting the insoluble fiber, the part that's not being absorbed by the body, right, of the wheat plant to reach down and touch the microbes that impact so much is likely the reason folks eating granula seeing more than just the condition of indigestion go away. They were getting rid of many ailments altogether. Granula was a health food, and James Caleb Jackson was a top physician. Until he was almost lost in history. John Harvey Kellogg. Oh, you know Kellogg. You know him very well. He was one of the early Seventh-day Adventists, also with strong views and a big reputation. Kellogg came to visit James Caleb Jackson in 1878 in order to understand some of his methods and study those natural remedies. And he was not only impressed by the food that James Caleb Jackson created, but by the results his patients were getting. And let's just say that day Kellogg left with the secret Krabby Patty formula. But what many don't know about Kellogg is that he wrote extensively about the gut. Indigestion was the #1 issue encountered in his sanatorium. Yeah, that's right, Kellogg was running his own show in Michigan around that time. And the boy was clouded up. He held distinguished guests like Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, and more. Sometime later, Kellogg had developed his own granula, but it was better. It was ready to cook in 1 minute. No overnight soaking. And he didn't only use wheat. He added another grain, oats. Kellogg dropped granula in favor of the name granola. Some say to avoid legal pressure from Jackson. Some say it was because he added oats to his formula. But either way, he got away scot-free. Kellogg's granola later evolved into the early versions of cornflakes. And of course, Kellogg went on to be a cereal giant. But granola virtually fell off the map. And what was actually going on is, for decades, granola was just catering to a small niche of hippies. The 1960s, arguably the most pivotal decade in America. Counterculture was growing as young people sought to do the opposite of what their parents and their parents' did. You guys eat wet cereal in a bowl, we eat dry granola outdoors. This was the common snack for a counterculture crew of hippies in the California area.
It's not gonna be steak and eggs or anything, but it's gonna be good food.
These were the people responsible for bringing the granola to the Woodstock Festival. You see, Woodstock did a number on the PR of granola. It began to be associated with outdoorsiness, the bare feet type. Companies began to wise up, like, wait a minute, there's a market here. Instead of focusing on cereal that can only be inconveniently eaten indoors, let's create a product that can be conveniently handled outdoors. So step in General Mills a few years following Woodstock with the first handheld bars of granola by Nature Valley, the first granola bars. This was the seminal shift. It wasn't until we start to see granola take the shape of bar form that we start to see the old idea of granules of fiber basically get crumbled up in history. But here's where things got tricky.
Granola clusters take the good things of granola, like oats, honey, raisins, almonds, and combine them.
The industry leveraged that long-standing association with granola and health in general, but then they were able to use some of the things that came out of that counterculture, right? The outdoors type, green, fresh air, sunshine. Here's the thing though, granola bars are functionally different foods than their counterpart of old. If it's ready to eat, then we're not dealing with coarse fiber pieces that need to be soaked. So we've opted in for more of this part of the plant, the endosperm, which is all starch. Starch doesn't get down here, starch gets about right here, not traveling half as far, not producing half as much intestinal gel to slow down digestion. It completely negates those healthy contributions we'd expect to be made by fibrous bran. Our little gut bugs ain't getting nothing. And if we're talking about a bar, we need a fat to blend, bind, and texturize. Well, seed oils are on the rise. Those are cheap and easy. It's the perfect marriage. And basically there you have it. From day one, granola bars were never a health food. But also, who cares? Like, starchy foods can be a problem, but they actually aren't the problem. The problem is the tiny fib that you may have missed and we're still falling for. It's made with oats. You know, oats, well balanced. It has beta glucan. Oats. I'm gonna name my son Otis. What's funny though, Nature Valley, being the first to create the granola bar, fought hard to keep the innocent name of granola untarnished, at least in its marketing. But then Quaker came in, oats blazing, and set the market on fire. Straight up chewy on y'all boys. The utter opposite of the coarse, challenging granula of old. They just did not care, and they were getting ready to take over the game. Innovation after innovation, they were chocolate dipping, caramel adding. Competition was rising all around with a bunch of other companies as well, and before you know it, the granola arms race. Innovation, marketing, capitalism, and oats. And actually, it wasn't long before Nature Valley themselves started to market themselves as the answer to candy. Here's how the average granola bar from then weighs up against these cookies. I like how Chips Ahoy just catching a stray. About 5 of these suckers would net us around 21 grams of carbs. One old school granola bar, 18 grams. Both final products have over 20 ingredients. Of the ingredients in the old school granola bar, at least 40% of them are identical to what is found in the cookies. Items like soybean, palm, canola oil, high fructose corn syrup, added sugar. I don't even want to begin to compare my modern day granola bars. I guess you could make an argument in favor of the fiber found in the old oats, but why even try? The industry was doing what big industries do, but some health-conscious moms stopped giving their kids granola bars in the name of reading the ingredients list, right? They recognize the contradiction. It's an alternative. It's a healthy food, alternative to the junk that moms usually give their kids, but it has the same ingredients as the junk that moms usually give their kids. And now times are different. Yes, we still have rectangular cookies disguising themselves as granola bars, but now they've broadened their identity. They're energy bars, high protein bars. They got nuts and fruits, and it ain't all bad. The product has never really been the problem though. The problem was, is, and always will be marketing. 50% of what you believe about health is based on things you've heard. The other 50% is based on marketing and association. So always ask more questions about what you believe about health. Last time I checked the inventory of the shop, these were highlighted in red, and I was like, oh, we don't have many of these left, do we? You can be one of the special people to own the original, legendary, iconic Do More Listening purple label hat. Check the description below and get the Do More Listening hat. If you miss out on the hat, grab yourself a hoodie. We don't skip on quality. Everyone is telling me they love this thing. It's soft, it's snug, it's stylish, and it should be shipping straight to your step. It will become your favorite hoodie. Watch. And if it doesn't, I will personally come to your home and tailor it until it is your favorite hoodie. Jump into the shop link below. There are other items as well. Get yourself or whoever you think of first something. Join the club.